This was the last place I'd seen Benson enter, and sure enough, there he was. He seemed shell-shocked, eyes sunken and slightly bloodshot. Hey, Benson. It took a few moments before he looked over at me, but said nothing as he returned his attention to the drink in front of him. At this point, Benson's just day drinking with a shotgun. Thanatos was perched on my shoulder, a handful of my fur in his fist to keep him steady. He too said nothing, even as I approached him slowly. It's just the fucking everything everywhere all at once scene.
Dave.
Sitting down on another stood next to him, I stayed quiet as Thanatos disembarked onto the counter and started looking around. For what, I didn't know, given my attention was on the state Benson was in. Stool. Are you okay?
I don't know, my boy. My body feels weak. My mind is a haze of nightmares. I feel so addled.
Lack of sleep?
Indeed.
Well, I'm sure we all feel very protected now. I glanced a look over at Thanatos, who seemed to pay our exchange no mind.
I know why you're here, David. I know.
You do?
It's gonna take a master sleuth to piece together what you might want from me after a tense conversation with your friends.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. Let's just get this over with and hopefully you can make some use of it.
I put a hand on his arm and he flinched. It was delayed, but it was a flinch all the same. But then after, maybe you should take a nap. You look,
You can say exhausted. I was gonna say you look like shit, Benson.
I'm just worried.
I'll be fine, Dave.
The three of us headed back into the dining room, and I dropped Thanatos back onto my table as I looked around, wondering how best to start.
So Junior here wants to know what he can figure out from your death.
Essentially, but if you're not up for it, we can,
It's fine. What do we do know? What do we know?
It's so bizarre to be interrogating the circumstances of Benson's death 12 days later.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It's been a while, but, I found my eyes trailing to the floor, right where I remembered Benson laying dead. It happened here, right where you're standing, although, well, obviously you were on the ground, dead.
May I have the cause of death?
A gunshot wound.
Where?
In the dining room?
In the head, Benny. In the head, Benny boy.
Oh, right, yeah, on your, right temple. Benson looked around the room, slowly scanning the room with a frown. Would it help if I gave more details?
Please.
So, there's a gun in your left hand. You're kind of just sprawled out on the ground on your side. There's not really more I can go over, because really only have fragments to go with.
Describe the gun to me.
Big? Silver?
It was explicitly white, wasn't it? It was like a weird, it reminded me, this is a reference that you're not going to get, but the audience is going to cringe about. It reminded me of like the guns that Dr. Scratch has in Homestuck. Anyway.
Oh. You know, I went a decade without you on this channel where the word Homestuck was never spoken.
Listen, I'm just saying it how it is.
You
all right,
spiked
I'm
that graph
telling it how it is.
hard.
Like a cowboy gun.
Yeah.
Revolver. Interesting.
Why is that interesting?
That would be Oswin's gun. I was decided to clean it that night as I'd been putting it off, but with everyone searching the place for a gun, I figured I wouldn't casually do it at the dining room table once everyone had turned in.
Why would you need to clean it?
Proper gun maintenance is important unless you run the risk of injury when you actually need it.
Huh. I guess that's understandable. It'd be why you wash your brushes after you finish painting.
Painting, really?
Yeah, like how he painted the floor with his brains. Well, I don't kill people or use guns. I don't know these things.
Your dad's a cop, Dave.
It does raise an interesting possibility, however.
My dad worked on cars for a living and I don't know shit about them. In what way?
Quite simply, why I was holding Oswin's gun. In my left hand, no less.
You were cleaning it, right?
I was, but why would I not just use my own?
Presumably because you didn't have it?
A fair assumption, but there are other problems. Notably, if I were to be shot in the head with Oswin's revolver, chances are there'd be a significant part in my head, well, missing. A detail you omitted from your recount.
Are we all just in this room skipping right over the clue 101 evidence of just the fact that he was holding the gun in his left hand and shot in the right side of his head? So he didn't do it? Like,
Yeah.
Is that lost in everyone still? We're gonna have that
Yes.
as a reveal later?
Yes.
Oh, well,
Fully.
your head was there.
Thanatos, how much of this event do you know? Why do you want to know?
What?
What question is that,
What
you
does that
dumbass?
mean?
You're the one who said we need to talk. It's like, what are you doing?
He's so annoying.
Fine, remain unhelpful.
Thanatos, you wanted me to look into this.
Fine. It's as Benson is getting at. He wasn't shot with the gun you found him with.
Which leaves us one other gun that I keep loaded. Mine.
There aren't any other guns in the house?
There are, but kept under lock and key, unloaded, and in my private quarters behind another locked door.
What about the one that's buried, apparently? According to Oz, in the one dialogue we managed to trigger.
Well, didn't Oz say his gun was the one that was buried? Which he also described as a rifle.
There's
So
a
I guess
rifle
never
that's
mind.
buried, apparently, in the yard, seemingly. In addition to
Yeah.
everything else. That's a lot of locks. That's a lot of fish.
That's called proper weapon storage.
Where are the keys? You have them, right?
They're safe, yes.
Okay. Good.
So my immediate thought was that either someone brought their own weapon or used mine.
But why would you hand over your own gun?
Good question.
We can rule out any outside interference.
How can you be sure?
No one entered the house that night. Only people in the house are those that you're aware of already.
A chill ran down my spine, and I looked to Benson.
We can't verify that unless we put blind faith into him.
All I can tell you is that over my lifetime, those that you might think would show up don't. Not until well after we're past that point.
But that would mean the person that did it was either... Well,
Pay him no mind, Dave.
he seemed thoughtful as he pieced together what he wanted to say next, a frown forming.
Oswin's revolver in my left hand. Or no, this is Benson. Oswin's revolver in my left hand is problematic as I'm right-handed.
That's not the right evidence. That's wrong. One, people don't necessarily shoot with the same hand that they're handed with, but also, like, it's just the simple fact that he's holding it in his left hand. You can't shoot yourself in the head, then put your gun in your other hand, and you can't shoot the right side of your head with your left hand reasonably. You just wouldn't do that. It doesn't matter if he's right-handed. You wouldn't have just swapped hands?
And why would I do that?
For fun? It is suicide, Dave? What the fuck?
I treat my gunplay quite seriously. I might be past my prime, but I still have my muscle memory should the situation arise. Granted, my headspace needs to be right for it.
So, why wasn't your left hand? Because somebody put it there after you died.
Planted most likely by the assailant.
I thought Dave already came to this conclusion in the other timeline. I guess he probably just doesn't remember that.
I don't know if he did or we did. I don't know. It's been so long. I don't think I follow. You're saying someone showed up, took your gun when you were cleaning Oswin's, shot you, then planted Oswin's gun in your hand for what reason?
Potentially to make it look like a suicide, although clumsy at best, it seems.
Yeah, because they literally didn't even put it in the right hand for... How did they fuck that up? Santos? Anything to add?
Why are you asking me?
You probably know the scene better than I remember. Plus, you likely know who did it, too.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Why are you asking me? Well, then who? I looked across to see to Benson, and he seemed to be staring into space, stiff as a board. Something had dawned on him. The corners of his mouth were pulled back, tense. Benson?
It's nothing. That's a lie. Quiet, you.
What's... Huh? We were making good progress, I thought. The next words out of Benson's mouth were almost a croak, but he recovered soon after. Unfortunately, not fast enough for me not to notice.
Very good progress.
What did I miss?
Benson's figured it out.
Wait, really? That's great.
No, it's really not.
Because...
Forgive me, but I cannot disclose who committed the deed. From what we know, I can only think of one person, but interrogating them would get us nowhere.
Why?
Because it never happened. What are they going to confess to?
But that...
Was it Dave? Did Dave do it while sleepwalking?
This will be something I need to discuss with them at a later date.
I looked between Thanatos and Benson quickly, the three of us quiet. Can I be honest?
Of course.
I'm really tired of this whole everyone having big realizations without telling me anything. You do it, Oswin does it. Oh, did it. Thanatos has done it too.
Have not. You explicitly have.
You have. You might not register it as it, but it's annoying that people seem to be in on some secret when I'm legitimately trying to figure things out and help people, but people just don't want to share.
In defense of everyone else, Dave, you've been doing a piss poor job of trying to figure things out. In fact, most of the time you just sort of shrug and go, I see, and then go take a nap. So maybe don't play yourself up too big, but you are correct that people are doing this to you.
Yeah, you continue to not at any point figure out who killed Benson or Sal. Was it you,
Then
Dave?
what would you have me do?
Tell me who it is. Then at least there'd be a lead or something to figure out what's going on. If we can't trust Thanatos, but we can sometimes, but then what we can put faith in, what you say, where does it leave us?
Forgive me. I'm not apologizing for anything. Even so, I cannot tell you who I believe it to be.
Then why is that?
Oswin told me not to. Yeah, Blur's privileges. It's
Great.
confidential, Dave.
What?
You remember the will that I showed you?
It was supposed to be informational, but I kept the page away that actually had all the information that I claimed was important, so it was pointless. The one where you burned the second page?
That's the one. Against my better judgment, I was told to protect someone specific, someone he suspected of being the one behind his death.
And why would he do that? That makes no sense. Benson regarded me briefly before shaking his head.
I'm afraid the answer died with him, Dave.
So
I groaned,
stupid.
rubbing
It
my
is
face.
So stupid.
Okay, fine, I get it. You don't, but I do, Dave, which is that it's like Akane bullshit. Like, the person is constructing a failed timeline where these things happen, and so some bullshit is put in place to make sure that happens, so that this failed timeline can play out this way, and you can use that in the good timeline or something. Leaning on the table, I looked down at the floor where Benson was dead in my vision. So Osmond figured it out?
I would assume so, yes, but certainty in these times isn't assured.
Okay.
Oi.
What?
Hey, I don't need you to get an attitude with me. I have good news.
What's the good news?
Got a few days of breathing room, at least.
Before another vault vision? Thanatos looks towards Benson, then back to me.
Potentially, but we'll worry about that, later. You need a break.
No, I don't need a break. Please start the plot. I'm begging you. We've had 10 days of not much happening.
There is something incredible about a game on day 20 telling us you have a few more days before the next vault vision. We have had 3 vault visions and none of them have been actionable in 20 days.
I've been begging for day 20 to be like the turning point, and so when the big meeting was happening and all the characters putting on the same page and revelations are happening and they finally tell us about Roswell and everything, I'm like, here we go. So them saying let's stop having narrative momentum is like not what I want to hear right now. No, just tell me now. May as well.
No, take a break. I know Benson needs one.
I looked towards Benson, and it was true. He was out of it again, trembling on the spot. Okay, fine.
I knew you'd see it my way. We can talk more later if I feel like it.
He waved and forcibly ending the conversation by dashing towards the foyer. Before long, he was out of sight, leaving Benson and I alone.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Huh?
I'm not the spy. I'm not as spry as I once was. Were things different, well.
I nodded slowly. Has keeping watch been tolling on you?
Truthfully, yes. I wish to return to a regular sleeping schedule soon. But that would mean assuming we wish for surveillance around the clock, others will need to stay up, among other things.
Once more I nodded and kicked the floor lightly. Who's on surveillance now?
Benson.
But he's not, is the problem. Like,
No, this counts.
He talks about people being on rotation on surveillance. I'm like, that includes the daytime, right, Benson?
Yeah.
Like,
That's what
we know
but
for
that's
a
the
fact
thing
that
is,
the rabbit doesn't only attack at night.
yes. And no, I agree with you. I understand what you're saying. But I'm saying what the game has set up is that just conveniently, whenever the plot needs it to be, if there is an excuse for surveillance, Benson will be the character that pops up saying, I surveyed. That's what it has done.
I did it, Dave. I looked around.
Yeah.
I walked up to the inspection pod with my Rothgar, and he looked left and right for 10 seconds, and I've done it now. That's it.
Thank you. What are you intending on doing now?
I don't know. I suppose I'll just take a nap for another day, and it will be day 21 before we do anything
I'll just
interesting.
sit by the pool again and continue to talk about our relationships, and we'll just pivot back to that after this. After the chat at breakfast, I might go see how everyone's holding up.
Very well. I wish you the best of luck.
Leaving the dining room, I rubbed my head, wondering where the others had ended up after everything that went down. If I was honest with myself, I felt a bit lost and wouldn't mind talking things out with someone else. Looking around, I wondered where Thanatos had run off to, and I assumed it would have been downstairs. The others, however, could be anywhere. I wandered around the house for a bit, sticking to the floor I was on before deciding to head upstairs and see if anything interesting was happening up there. I approached the rec room and stuck my head in, seeing Ty and Haas sitting in beanbags quietly chatting. Haas had his face in his hands, and Tyson seemed unsure about what to really be doing. You guys okay? Ty looked up and gestured me to come over before turning back to Haas. We're good. Yeah. You sure? Just working through the news, yeah? Well, Haas is anyway. Oh, about,
Yeah, about that.
And I guess I spent my entire adolescence bullying the cancer kid, so... Rough backstory.
You probably could have just gotten it done with super early. Maybe he should have just stapled Roswell to a nuclear bomb and saved everyone else the trouble. Then we wouldn't be going through all the sadness that we're feeling right now that our friend who we don't even like is dying soon. Yeah, Tyson's actually the hero. That would have been the good thing for him to do.
It's in character for Toaster to have the solution be Ozymandias' plans.
Yes, he should have. Tyson should have. That's going to be the true ending. Is that back in time we encourage Tyson to bully Roswell until Roswell's dead, and then we never go here.
Canth and Sandals are autobiographical. Help! I'm blinking twice for help.
They're not. They're not. But they are fun. They're fun characters.
Nodding slowly, I took a spot on the floor and rested my hands in my pockets, not really sure what to say or do. How are you holding up about it? Me? Fine, I guess. Well, I guess it's less fine and more just in shock, or not really knowing if it's real still.
That's where I'm at. I get that it's a thing, but his delivery needs some work.
How else is he meant to tell us that?
I don't know, but what are we meant to do with that information?
Nothing. Then he turned to me with a frown, looking me over.
And, you actually promised what he asked?
I had to. Don't think he needed to do shit, but if that's all he's asking, then hell, I'll make that promise too.
Dude, you understand what he's asking of us, right? It doesn't matter if it makes the most sense. It's messed up. Is it though? Like, just from like is it not more messed up to be like, no, we have to save you and we'll risk our lives and endangering everyone and having everyone die just so that you don't need to go. You're gonna die in 3 more days though.
It's mostly just mostly just a bizarre thing to bring up.
Yeah. It is a bizarre thing to bring up, but I'm just saying also, like, them logicking through this is one of those few micro niche situations where being like, yeah, actually, like, the cancer kid saying that he can stay behind so that we can all make it out is like, it's very admirable, and it's sad that we've been put in a position where this needs to happen, but like, the cruel math of it checks out, so maybe we can just count our blessings a little bit, like. In a life or death situation like this, it does seem sort of like one of those things you wouldn't debate.
And yet.
Imagine if it was Dave asking that of you.
Ty's ears immediately drooped and he slumped, keeping to himself.
So, like, he's right, worst case scenario. It saves us the decision-making process, but I sure as hell don't feel good about it.
What would the alternative be? I don't know, Dave. It's a purely hypothetical risk that in a scenario we can't imagine. What the fuck are we talking about? What are we talking about? Like, You can't know the alternatives. It's like, oh, we have a super mutant in the room, and he just won't press the button.
One
out
of you has to
honor.
stay behind so that the rest can get away. We're being chased by a bear, and we need one person to be slow.
Like, what the fuck is the scenario?
He's like, okay.
Don't think there is one, is there? If shit hits the fan, then you just deal with it. This conversation
You all are
is stupid.
Highly overestimating your own abilities for a bunch of losers who can't even fucking can't even hang out with each other on a vacation you designed to spend time with each other. So chill out on being able to solve any problems.
They're just having such a purely hypothetical conversation about a scenario that's never happened to them ever before, and they have no reason to expect to happen in this incredibly specific, contrived way. If shit hits the fan, then we just deal with it. Or I guess we know what we're doing already. Yeah, I guess so. I shuffled closer to Ty and leaned against him, and he leaned against me back. You think he's suffering?
I hope he is.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, I was role playing the response I wanted Haas to say. It would be funnier. Hard to say. I imagine if it wasn't easy to come out and tell us that he's dying, given he's captive from us this long.
Feels a little strange to bring it up now, doesn't it?
I think one of the things that makes this kind of not land for me ultimately is like Roswell. Like, this is just like a development I don't like in stories of like, I'm actually terminally ill and this is my last go of it, guys. Is that like, even, like, I have worked with people who like come to work with terminal illness and then just like suddenly die very abruptly very soon after, despite knowing it the whole time and like not making it a public thing. You still can kind of tell that they're on their way out. Like, it isn't, people don't just like live the full capacity of their lives until the second to last day and then are like, oh, well, my time's up. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how bodies work. That's not how disease works.
It's incredibly strange that supposedly Roswell is dying like in a week.
Yes.
Like, you
and like
would know.
Time. Yeah. Like, and I'm not saying, yes, when someone has a terminal illness and it becomes the final days, like, people do slip very quickly and very suddenly. But my point is that usually by that point, people are not at imperceivable levels of sickness, full health, and then just like suddenly dying. It is like, it's a slow and steady decline until you hit a breaking point, and then it all goes from there. So like this idea of Roswell being like, yeah, everything was fine, is just like so dumb. It's just so dumb. I don't think it checks out at all. Like, these are literally, and this is something that we've already established, but these are literally the least observant, least involved with each other friends that have ever been written in fiction.
Yeah, nobody has noticed that one of their friends has a terminal illness and they're about to die.
And we noticed it before the game even really explained it. Like, it's just like, come on, guys.
It feels like it should have been revealed like a week ago and people should have been dealing with it for a while, but honestly, for a trip like this, it almost feels like the way to approach a trip like this is to announce this to all of your friends in advance
at the start,
then have the trip, like, not even, you don't even like ambush them with it when the trip starts, but like you tell them when you're planning the trip, and that's like the context for the whole thing, and then everyone's there to like have a sort of celebration of life month with you and sort of see you on the way out.
And I think that there's something interesting that could be said about the setup of this game, of like us bringing Tyson, where if we were bringing Tyson under the literal setup that like, hey, he wants to say sorry and he's different now and he wants to make it up to you, that would be a more compelling arc than, hey, I just brought Tyson to your secret end of life party, sorry guy. Like, it's just very weird. Just a very weird thing to drop this late into the game. Again, as I said, once we already fucking know, we already are aware of everything that has been happening with this character.
Most of the playthrough has been us waiting for the characters to catch up with us. We're just like, please learn the things we figured out. I don't remember if you read this or not.
I did.
It is a little strange to bring it up now, doesn't it? Wait, how did I get this far back?
I imagine if his condition worsened suddenly, that might cause us more alarm than if we knew what to expect, right?
Or if he just didn't wake up one morning.
Dude, too real.
What? That's the line? It's true, though. One day he might just go to bed and that's it. That sounds really sad. That we just
it's sad when people die. Jesus Christ, Dave.
That we just don't know that when we're saying goodnight, it'll be the last thing, right?
I guess that's just how it goes, right? Anything you say to someone could just be the last thing you say to them ever. It's not as if this wasn't the exact thing that Dave was talking about a while ago when he was talking about his dad.
Mm-hmm. Ty pulled back, looking me over with a stern look, focusing on me and looking me over so I couldn't keep eye contact. What's wrong? Just,
That's
looking.
Dude, just say it.
Shut up. Say what? Just in case, yeah? I love you. You know that, right?
Big softy. You're gonna tell me that you love me next too?
No.
You see, they're friends now. They're friends now because they joked that one time. They're friendly.
You definitely show
Ouch.
that more by having them interact, which is happening now, but it's
Yes.
it's weird that it's almost happening for the first time 20 days in.
Ouch, what if I say please?
Still no. Thanks, Ty. I love you too.
See, there you go. Happy family.
Ty rolled his eyes and patted me on the head in the same motion, sitting back in his beanbag. So you're feeling better at least now, Haas?
It's gonna take some getting used to. It's soured the trip a little more knowing what's around the corner for a friend is all.
Yeah. Also, the attempted murder, and also the actual murders, the deaths. Man, this trip sure soured just now. So what? We're meant to worry about it until it happens, or what? Maybe not worry about it, but like, I guess just keep it in mind, and then when it happens, we'd be sad. It's weird to talk about it like you're planning it. Also, there's nothing to worry about. It's already in stone, and it always was. It's just a realization.
That's overly simplistic.
Like, there's an alternative. It's untreatable, right? So that's that. That's it. We can't do anything about it.
Awfully defeatist of you, Dave, but you've got a point.
I'll just like whip out my chemo glands and cure him right now. The
Please
fuck are you
don't say that.
talking
I don't
about,
want to
Hans?
hear about Dave's glands. All we can do is make sure he's comfortable.
At the same time, we have to deal with the guys in the woods? Are they even still out there? I forgot for like a week. Not worth the risk, is it? Guess not. If the road is fucked, then they aren't getting off the mountain either.
Unless there's another way out.
What? There might be a different way to leave this mansion in the wide world that is the entire planet in a 3D space. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah. Nodding slowly, I leaned back and Tyson got up to head over to the TV. What are you doing? Wanna watch anime?
Yeah, sure. You staying for some anime, Dave?
I think I'll see where the others went. Orlando seemed pretty shaken up about it all. If he's not here, then, well...
Right. Don't know where he went. Just ran off before I did, but he headed upstairs when he left, if that helps.
But he's in
Can't
the
believe they're just sitting there watching anime.
Well, just gotta distract. So he's in the mansion at least. Thanks, I'll See you guys later.
I want to know what would happen if a bunch of these guys just sitting here right now, like, this is just like my suggestion for a way to like blow up the plot, but like, imagine if Tyson is rummaging around in a bunch of shit that he wants to steal, and then he finds a huge bag of like 80s cocaine. I want to see what happens in the plot when that happens. Like
I think that's
maybe
the werewolf ending.
maybe something different would happen if that was there. I'm just putting out ideas.
Cocaine.
I'm just saying that the plot could happen maybe if that was the case. Anyone else with me on that?
Watching anime is very funny because on some level, if all that happened was just the news that Roswell's dying, then it's like, yes, maybe cope for a bit, hang out, and then maybe like just go back, like distract yourself and watch something. Cause like, what are you gonna do? You just kind of like need to bounce back from this a bit. But the larger thing happening here is that there's a fucking death vault robot rat and people in the woods, and all this stuff's happening in the actual plot, and it's like it's almost like the Roswell conversation creates an excuse for them to stop thinking about that immediately and only think about Roswell, which makes some emotional sense, but them resetting back to just watching anime in the context of the fact that the main plot is actually doing stuff a bit is way weirder, because you're like, can we talk about this? The fucking death vault rat and stuff? Like, it seems like I wouldn't want to just go back to killing time again.
Mm-hmm.
If you need us, we'll be here. With a nod, I set off, leaving them to their anime. Finally. It seemed, at least for the time being, they were holding things together, but that just made me wonder how Orlando was doing without someone to talk him through things. When I found him, he was sitting by the window, or half lounging by the window, looking out into the world beyond. Hey, Orlando? You doing okay? His eyes were still wet, but he wasn't actively sobbing anymore. He turned to look at me before looking out the window again, gesturing for me to come closer and give him a hug. Not really. I didn't think things could get any worse, but then Roswell gave us the news, huh? And we haven't even won the scavenger hunt. Yeah. He wrapped his arms around me and I joined him in looking out the window. It's just so sad. He's been hiding it for so long and just... I don't want to believe it's real. But it is though, right? He couldn't go joking about something like this. Not now, especially. Bad that I think I would have rather not known at all? What if something happened? Yeah, that's true. You're wondering what happens now? A little? It's not like we're doctors either. Yeah. He breathed out. A different version. And I could see the small wisps of smoke trailing out of his nose. This is really upsetting you, huh? Like, I don't know if I've ever seen you this troubled like this before. It's just something new, right? Something that I just don't know how I'm meant to feel, so I'm just defaulting to sad. Smoke doesn't normally mean sad. It only means you're angry or frustrated. I guess frustrated's one way to think about it. What part of it are you frustrated about? So, like, everything that's happened so far feels so... How can I put this? He waves his hands in the air, trying to piece together his thoughts. Although it took me pulling his hands back in to get words rather than sounds. If this was a game, there'd be a happy ending. An ending where we all return home and safe and happy, but this is just... Life can't be this cruel, can it? That no matter how else things may turn out, Roswell dies? You've played games like that before, right? That's not the end of the story, though. There's always more, or a new game plus, or some hidden thing that gets you everything nice and happy at the end. We're talking metatextually about the game you're playing.
Maybe if you find all the metals, it will solve the problem entirely. You know, something like that, Dave.
You've got to solve the scavenger hunt, Dave. It's the cure to cancer, Dave. Not all games are like that, Orlando, and sometimes life is just like that. He nodded slowly and put an arm around my shoulders. Next time we're all going to be together is going to be awkward, I think. Even if it is dinner. What was that last bit supposed to mean? Yeah, dinner's going to just be interesting all around. I wonder if Thanatos is going to be joining us too. Speaking of, you knew? Yet you still let me trap him like that? I wasn't meant to tell anyone, or that was the impression I got anyway. I just got caught up on everything that happened. No more secrets from the group, Dave. I feel like we've said this before. Yeah, I know. Next bit's gonna be hard enough. I hope it's not too hard, though. Hey, listen. I'm sorry for being a bit all over the place right now, but I appreciate you checking on me. I gave him another hug, but he shook his head and went back to looking out the window. I might just need some time to process it. See if I can think of something, but maybe I want to try this solo for a bit. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay. Sorry. No, it's fine. I mean, I checked in on Haas and Tyson already. Now you. So maybe I should go find Sal or Dean and just, I don't know, check in. He nodded slowly and backed away, lingering by the doorway just watch him look out the window before moving on. It's like seeing everyone's anime reaction shot to the news, but in slow motion. Checking on everyone individually. Next stop, Sal and Dean.